You hear the name Kevin Mitnick, and what's the first thing you think of? Right, a legendary computer hacker. But today, we're going to dig into something way more interesting and honestly, a lot more powerful, his real masterpiece, the art of hacking the human mind itself.
I mean, the media just went wild with this guy. They built this legend of a digital ghost, so powerful that the US Marshals were literally warned, don't even tell him your name. Why? Because with just a few keystrokes, he could supposedly just erase their lives. He became this cyber-terrorist myth.
So, you gotta ask, right? Was his superpower really about the code and the computers? The myth sure points that way. But the reality? Well, the reality is rooted in something much older, and something we all deal with every single day.
Yeah, they called him cyberspace's public enemy #1. Can you imagine? They painted him as this malicious criminal mastermind capable of bringing down entire systems. And you know what? It was a really scary story.
But then, you hear from the man himself. In his own words, Mitnick pushes back on that whole myth. He basically says, look, that's not me. I was never about malicious destruction. And this right here is where our story takes a hard turn away from the keyboard and towards the simple art of conversation. So let's pull back the curtain and see what was really going on. It turns out his true gift wasn't about breaking code, it was about breaking down a person's natural defenses through the sheer art of deception.
And here's the name of the game: social engineering. You can think of it like a performance art. It's all about using influence, persuasion, and a bit of manipulation to get people to do things they would never normally do. You know, like handing over the keys to the entire kingdom without even realizing it.
And look, this wasn't some talent he just woke up with one day. It was something he built up his whole life. Check this out. At just 12 years old, he wasn't hacking computers, he was hacking the LA bus system. He figured out the driver's paper punch system and would dumpster dive for blank transfers. Then in high school, he got into phone phreaking, basically talking his way past phone company employees. By the time he was a private investigator, he was a pro, getting paid for what he called his performance art.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? How does it work? Let's dive into the playbook and see how one simple, persuasive phone call can blow right past millions of dollars in high-tech security.
Okay, here's the scenario. The prize? A highly confidential phone company directory. This thing is an absolute treasure map, packed with internal numbers that could let you explore their entire network. It's supposed to be under heavy lock and key.
So, the social engineer calls up a remote office late in the day. Now listen to the genius of this opening line. He's not trying to get around security. No, he's actually using security as his excuse. Right off the bat, he's on their side, he's the careful one.
And here comes the brilliant part, the hook. He makes a simple, totally reasonable request that actually makes the target's life easier. Hey, the delivery guy is late. It's a small problem, but you can help out. It sounds completely harmless, totally logical.
And boom, just like that, it's over. No coding, no hacking, no brute force attacks. A top-secret document, a key to the whole network, is just sitting there on the doorstep, waiting to be picked up. Incredible.
All right, let's do another one. This time it's not about data, it's about getting physical access. The goal? Walk right on to a major movie studio lot. You know, the kind of place with guards, gates, and guest lists.
So he calls a producer's office and gets a very nice, motherly-sounding secretary on the phone. Instead of being arrogant or demanding, he's totally self-deprecating. He plays the clueless new guy and instantly creates this human connection. I mean, who can't relate to that feeling, right? Now check out the result. This is what makes it so powerful. He doesn't just get the phone number he needs. He gets a warm, personal referral from an insider. He's no longer a stranger. He's the poor new kid Dorothy feels sorry for. And that referral? That's way better than any fake ID. So you have to be asking, why does this stuff work so darn well and so consistently? Well, it's because the weak spot being exploited isn't in the software. It's in our own brains. It's in our own mental hardware.
This slide right here just nails the whole problem. We spend billions of dollars on all this tech, firewalls, encryption, complex passwords, but social engineers, they just sidestep all of it by going after our most basic human emotions: trust, sympathy, and even fear. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? We are basically wired to be helpful and trusting. It's human nature, especially when someone asks for something that just seems reasonable. We just don't want to believe that the person on the other end of the line is lying to us.
Now, there's a psychological term for what's happening here: automatic responding.
Think of it like a mental shortcut. We're busy, we're tired, we're distracted. So when a request comes in that sounds plausible, our brain just takes the shortcut and says yes, without really thinking it through. A social engineer is an absolute master at triggering that automatic yes.
Okay, and this all brings us to the final and honestly the most important point of this whole thing. The weakest link in any security system, it isn't a piece of technology.
Here is the fundamental dilemma that Mitnick lays out. It's a real catch-22. To be a happy, functioning person in the world, we kind of have to be trusting. But that very trust is the exact doorway a social engineer is looking for. So how do you stay secure without becoming a totally cynical, suspicious person? And at the end of the day, that's the ultimate takeaway. All the firewalls, all the encryption in the entire world can be completely undone by one helpful person on the inside who gets a persuasive phone call. The human element is, and it always will be, the critical factor.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. The next time a stranger asks you for a small, seemingly reasonable favor, what's your automatic response going to be? And more importantly, will you maybe take just one extra second to think about it first?